welcome to Finfinne News, Finfinne News Network. I am your host, Sibel. As the OLA and the TPLF advance towards the capital of Finfinne, the Ethiopian regime has attacked the town of Hartuma using drones, killing 50, including injuring 10 Oromos. And additionally, the regime has aerially attacked Kamise and other Wallo cities, killing and injuring an unspecified number of civilians. Meanwhile, the OLA and the TPLF are together advancing towards the capital. The OLA has also demanded the removal of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, the establishment of a transitional government, and for an eventual democratic election. TPLF spokesperson Getachew Reda said that the ultimate objective of both armies is in fact not to march onto the capital, but to break the siege on the northern Tigray region. OLA spokesperson Oda Tarbi has also said that advancing towards Finfinne and the possibility of armed government forces is, direct quote, purely based on what happens if it comes to negotiations in the hopes of avoiding a military conflict that could lead to death and injury. And here is a direct quote that we're going to read from that spokesperson. He says, "Of course, we prefer if there is a peaceful and orderly transition with Abiy being removed. The goal is to be as inclusive as possible. We know this transition requires all stakeholders." But he also added that there would have to be a process for members of the Prosperity Party to be judged for war crimes that they have perpetrated during this conflict. And he said, again, a direct quote, "Many members would have to go through investigation, possibly be prosecuted." And Tarbi also said that at least 400 Ethiopian soldiers have defected and joined the OLA. So we're going to play a short clip of an interview done with the BBC by TPLF spokesperson Getachew Reda now and get those details on what they are looking for as they advance towards the capital and whether the TPLF, OLA, and other rebel forces are in fact interested in taking the capital.
We've seen the rebels entering strategic towns on their way towards the capital. Now, the US Special Envoy has been urging the rebels a couple of days ago not to march on the capital. Can you give an assurance that the TPLF will not attempt to take the capital?
Well, it is not a question of taking the capital. We're not particularly interested in marching on the capital for the sake of seizing power. We are not interested in territorial ambitions. Our interest and our only objective is to make sure that Abiy does not continue to threaten our people anymore. If marching on Addis is what it takes to make sure the threat from Abiy is neutralized, then we will.
In other news, a newly released report from the New York Times has now shown the extent to which interrogations, searches, and seizures are being carried out on Tigrayans who are living in the capital. So we'll share some select key aspects of that report from the New York Times now. A reporter for that outlet has documented how, for example, 2 Tigrayan youth were taken from their homes in the neighborhood of Shira Meda in Finfinne, despite the fact that those 2 youth had no apparent involvement at all in Tigrayan politics. And in addition, many Tigrayans living in the capital Finfinne have already endured days or even weeks of detainment in harsh conditions. Meanwhile, Facebook has made the decision on Tuesday morning of this week to take down a post from Prime Minister Abiy that urged citizens to take up arms against the OLA and the TPLF and to, quote, bury the approaching forces. And this post stated, "The obligation to die for Ethiopia belongs to all of us." So now that post was found by Facebook under the guidelines of Facebook's parent company, now known as Meta, to be inciting violence. And in breaking news released just today, 9 different anti-government groups in Ethiopia are set to form an alliance against the government. The alliance will be known as the United Front of Ethiopian Federalist and Confederalist Forces. And in addition to the TPLF and the OLA, it will also include groups such as the Afar Revolutionary Democratic Unity Front, the Aga Democratic Movement, the Benishangul People's Liberation Movement, the Gambela People's Liberation Army, the Global Kimant People Right and Justice Movement, and also known as the Kimant Democratic Party, the Sidama National Liberation Front, and the Somali State Resistance. And the stated goal of that alliance is to establish a transitional government to begin talks and negotiations with other allied nations and diplomats. Now, in response to that recently formed alliance, Abiy's government has called it a publicity stunt and has called the different groups involved, quote, not really organizations that have any traction. Meanwhile, a spokesperson for Prime Minister Abiy has blamed the anti-government groups for not resolving their grievances during the election in June, stating, quote, the opening up of the political space 3 years ago provided ample opportunity for contenders to settle their differences at the ballot box in June 2021. And that is despite, of course, vast election irregularities that we have reported on previously. Meanwhile, U.S. Special Envoy Jeffrey Feltman is currently in Finfinne meeting with government officials in a last-minute attempt to negotiate a ceasefire. In addition, we are getting word that Prime Minister Antony Blinken, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has also responded to the recent conflict continuing in Ethiopia. Of course, he sent out a tweet, and this was last night, on Thursday night, writing, quote, the conflict in Ethiopia must come to an end. Peace negotiations should begin immediately without preconditions in pursuit of a ceasefire. Of course, many in the comments below his tweet airing their grievances with the government and voicing concerns that a change needs to occur to the government that has been established by Abiy and the widespread dissatisfaction with the central government. So going forward, we will continue, of course, to bring you updates as those rebel troops march towards the capital. And in addition, we will continue to update our viewers on news relating to Oromia and the Oromo people. Once again, this is Finfinne News Network, FNN News, and I'm your host, Sibel.